Before we start, if you enjoy the story, please leave a like and check if you're subscribed. The jungle canopy exploded as Ryland Cross fought the dying ship through the atmosphere. Alarms shrieked. Engine failure. The control yoke bucked in his hands and he tasted blood where he'd bitten through his lip. Come on, you bastard. The ship didn't respond. 3 cartel enforcement ships had shot him halfway across the sector, and now gravity took over with enthusiastic malice. The impact drove the breath from his lungs and turned the world into spinning pain and twisted metal. Something exploded, showering him with sparks. The grinding shriek of tearing metal finally stopped. He hung sideways in the harness, every breath a knife between broken ribs. Warm wetness spread down his side. He fumbled with the release and tumbled onto the bulkhead. Ryland dragged himself through the emergency hatch and dropped to the forest floor. Humid air rushed in, thick with unfamiliar scents. Trees the size of cathedrals loomed overhead, their trunks wrapped in phosphorescent vines pulsing with blue light. Something howled in the distance. The distinct whine of thruster drives cut through the jungle sounds. They'd followed him down. Voss Harlan didn't leave loose ends. Ryland melted into the undergrowth, ignoring his screaming ribs. Behind him, a ship landed and voices called out, professional, military. He kept moving, finally finding an outcropping that offered cover and a vantage point. Below, 3 lights bobbed through the darkness. They'd split up, overconfident. The nearest enforcer came closer, rifle ready. Ryland waited until he was 5 meters away, then moved. He came off the rocks in silence, drove his pistol into the man's throat, swept his legs, and fired point blank. "Found something!" The shout came from downslope. Ryland moved toward it, leading the rifle and keeping to shadows. Through the trees ahead, he saw 2 enforcers, rifles trained on something behind a fallen log. Then he saw her. She crouched there, lean and predatory, with features almost human, but not quite. Copper-red hair fell past her shoulders, and triangular fox ears rose from that hair. She wore primitive leather armor, stained with blood from a wound in her side. In her hands, she held a spear wrapped in bioluminescent moss. Her eyes caught the light and reflected it back like an animal's, impossibly blue. One enforcer laughed. "Native life. Should we kill it?" The older enforcer raised his rifle. Ryland's mind supplied a dozen reasons to stay hidden. She wasn't human. This wasn't his problem. He was wounded, outnumbered. His body ignored his brain entirely. He burst from cover, pistol firing. The older enforcer's head snapped back. The younger one whirled, but Ryland crashed into the woman, driving them both behind the log as plasma bolts seared overhead. They hit hard. She made a sound of pain, and he felt her blood against his side. Her eyes were wide, dilated. "Stay down," he snarled, rolling up with his pistol tracking. The young enforcer had flanked left. Ryland fired twice, chest, then throat. He went down. Silence rushed back. After 30 seconds, Ryland let himself breathe. She was staring at him. Those blue eyes held shock or pain or both. She clutched her spear like a shield, but slowly lowered it. Ryland pulled his medkit and held up a dermal patch. "For your wound." She watched him with absolute focus, ears swiveling. Then she let him approach. When he reached for her armor, her hand caught his wrist, grip strong, skin warm. They froze, her eyes searching his face. Whatever she found made her release him. He peeled back the leather and treated the plasma graze across her ribs. She hissed, but didn't pull away. She touched his face, fingers tracing the blood from his scalp to his jaw. She looked at it, then at him, something shifting in her expression. Her hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. She leaned close, inhaling his scent, and made a soft sound in her throat. When she pulled back, she touched 2 fingers to her lips, then to his forehead. Some kind of gesture. Then she was gone, melting into the jungle. Ryland slumped against the log, alone with questions he didn't have strength to answer. A rifle shot cracked through the trees. He moved toward the sound and found Voss standing in a clearing over a kneeling alien male. 3 more of the fox-eared people lay dead around him. Your people should have stayed hidden, Voss said. Now I've got to report this. His finger tightened on the trigger. Ryland shot him through the skull. The kneeling alien stared, mouth working silently. Go, Ryland said, gesturing with his pistol. The alien grabbed a spear and ran. Ryland made it 300 meters before his legs gave out. He dragged himself under an overhang, used his last journal patches, relocated his shoulder with a grinding pop that made him see stars. Fever came with nightfall. He drifted, seeing faces and the bioluminescent patterns. When consciousness returned, he wasn't alone. 6 warriors stood around his hiding place, primitive weapons glowing. In that light, he saw fox ears, sharp features, eyes that reflected like mirrors. And there, at the center, she stood. Her wound was properly dressed now. Her red hair was pulled back, revealing the full sweep of those ears. One warrior barked something. She responded, argued, won. She approached slowly and knelt just outside his reach. When she spoke, her voice made her words perfectly clear. We've been watching your kind for 300 years. You were the first who surprised us. His pistol dropped into the dirt. The other warriors moved forward. Their spears shimmered, revealing smooth metal that cut the air itself. Advanced technology disguised as primitive tools. What are you? She took his hand. Qatara. My name is Kira. And you, Ryland Cross, have done something we thought impossible. The world tilted. He tried to ask how she knew his name, but darkness dragged him down. The last thing he felt was her hand in his. Then nothing. Ryland woke to medicinal sweetness in the air. His eyes adjusted to soft light emanating from the walls themselves. He lay on something that conformed to his body but felt alive. The fever was gone. His ribs no longer screamed. He sat up carefully. His chest was wrapped in bandages that shimmered with technological quality. His shoulder moved freely. Even the scalp wound had closed. The room wasn't primitive. Walls curved upward, mimicking bark, but clearly manufactured. Bioluminescent panels provided light. What looked like wooden furniture revealed itself as living wood embedded with subtle technology. You heal quickly for your species. Kira stood in the doorway. She wore fitted leather marked with intricate patterns. Her red hair hung loose, and without blood and dirt, he could see how striking she was. Those fox ears, swivel toward him, blue eyes intense. Where am I? Our settlement. You were unconscious 2 days. The fever nearly killed you. She moved closer with that liquid grace. Our medicine is more effective than your patches. I noticed. Thank you. You saved my life. Saved Terran's life. The male you protected. Honor demanded we return the favor. She sat across from him. You killed 4 of Harlan's enforcers. For strangers. For aliens. Why? The question hung between them. He didn't have a good answer. Seemed like the right thing to do. Something flickered in her eyes. She stood abruptly. Can you walk? She led him through passages that curved like tree roots, always ascending. Other Qatara passed. Some nodded, others stared with hostility. They emerged onto a platform high in the canopy. The settlement spread below in spiraling tiers, structures blending seamlessly with massive trees. Bridges of living wood connected levels. Everywhere, that subtle technology. We are Qatara. Watchers. Kira moved to the edge. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council discovered our world. They saw primitive tribes and dismissed us as pre-spaceflight. But you're not. No. We chose to appear that way. She looked back at him. Where are all the advanced civilizations? Why is space so quiet? We're watching, judging, deciding which species deserve to join the greater community and which should burn out. The implications hit him hard. You've been testing us, observing. We have settlements on 47 human worlds, watching how you treat those who cannot defend themselves. Her jaw tightened. You are failing that test badly. He thought of the exploitation, the casual cruelty, the way he'd turned a blind eye, telling himself survival was enough. So why save me? Because you're the first human who chose differently, the first who risked everything for nothing. She moved closer, close enough he could smell her, wild and clean, like rain on stone. Just honor. I'm not honorable. I'm a smuggler, a criminal. You chose to protect the helpless. That matters more than the crimes that brought you here. Her hand rose and touched his chest where his heart beat. This matters. The contact sent electricity through him. Her palm was warm against his sternum. He could feel his pulse hammering. Kira, come. The council waits. The council chamber occupied the largest platform. 7 Qatara elders sat in a semicircle. At the center sat a female whose bearing radiated authority. Torn ears, eyes sharp as broken glass. Matriarch Elaine, Kira said, bowing. I present Ryland Cross. The matriarch studied him like a predator evaluating prey. The human who kills other humans to protect Qatara, anomaly or vanguard. Matriarch, I believe. I did not ask you, Kira. Her gaze never left Ryland. Why did you protect my people? They needed help. So do billions across the galaxy. Why these? Why now? He met her eyes because I was there. Because I could. Silence. The elders murmured. Finally, the matriarch raised her hand. Your species is dying. The scarlet hemorrhage. A plague that has killed 17 million humans in 8 months. Your governments hoard resources while colonies burn. Ryland's stomach dropped. 17 million. The cartel media had said thousands. We have the cure. Have had it for decades. The plague was introduced by the Scarl, insectoid raiders who profit from chaos. We developed the cure as part of our observation. Then why? Why didn't we give it to you? Because the question is whether humanity deserves to survive. Whether you are capable of anything beyond violence. The vote has been split for months. Her eyes bored into him. You have forced this council to reconsider. Kira stepped forward, but the matriarch cut her off. His actions prove one human can choose honor. One. Not enough to save a species, but perhaps enough to give them one final chance. She stood with the other elders. Ryland Cross. The Scarl have stolen data about our cure. They plan to sell it to your cartels. They have also stolen evidence of their role in creating the plague, evidence that would unite your governments against them. Where? Their stronghold. 6 days through hostile jungle. The matriarch's gaze flicked to Kira. My daughter will guide you. If you retrieve both the cure and evidence, we will share them freely. If you fail or betray us, the cure dies and humanity dies with it. Daughter. Ryland looked at Kira, saw tension in her shoulders. Then you've proven my point, that humans only act with honor when the cost is low. Elegant trap. Refuse and condemn billions. Accept and probably die. He looked at Kira. Something passed between them. When do we leave? Dawn. Prepare yourself, human. The elders left them alone. Kira released a held breath. You didn't have to agree. Yes, I did. 17 million dead. How many more if we wait? Thousands every day. She moved closer. The Scarl are dangerous. Bred for combat. We'll be 2 against hundreds. Not great odds. No. She touched his arm, fingers curling around his bicep. But you've survived worse, I think. The scars. The way you move. Her thumb traced scar tissue on his shoulder. You are a survivor. So am I. Perhaps together we can do the impossible. The touch lingered. He felt the warmth of her hand, the strength in those fingers. When she pulled away, his skin felt cold. Get some rest. Tomorrow we enter the killing ground. She left him in twilight. He should have felt trapped. Instead, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Purpose. And beneath that, something more dangerous, the ghost of her touch. The memory of her eyes, the way she'd said his name. Tomorrow they'd leave for hostile territory. Tonight he had questions with no answers and a pulse that refused to slow. He touched his chest where her hand had rested. This was going to get complicated. They left before dawn, the settlement still wrapped in blue bioluminescence and mist. Kira moved ahead through canopy bridges, pack slung across her shoulders, spear strapped to her back. Ryland followed with the plasma rifle she'd given him, his pistol, and supplies that weighed almost nothing. The jungle swallowed them within an hour. Beneath the canopy, the world was darker. Phosphorescent vines provided sporadic light. Strange calls echoed, some animal, some not. Water dripped from leaves the size of his torso. Kira set a brutal pace, moving through undergrowth like she was part of it. He kept up, but by midday his legs burned and sweat soaked his shirt. She called a halt near a stream, kneeling to refill water containers. He dropped his pack and stretched. "You move well for someone who lives in ships," she said. "Military training. Before I became a criminal." "What happened?" "I disobeyed orders. My unit was supposed to clear a mining colony of squatters, families who'd been there for generations. Command wanted them gone for extraction. You refused. I helped them escape. 12 families, got them off-world before orbital bombardment." He stared at his hands, dishonorable discharge, blacklisted from every legitimate job. "The cartels don't care about honor, so I ended up running contraband." Kira capped the container and sat beside him on a moss-covered log. Their shoulders touched. "You saved them." "Yeah. And spent 6 years paying for it. My people have a saying, the tree that stands alone breaks in a storm. The tree that bends with others survives." Her hand found his. "You stood alone. That takes a different kind of strength." Her fingers were warm, slightly rough from weapons. He looked at their joined hands. "Is that why you're helping me?" "I'm helping you because I believe you. Believe that humans can be more than we've observed." She squeezed his hand. "That you're not an anomaly but a possibility. That's a lot of faith to put in one smuggler." She turned her head, bringing her face close to his. Those blue eyes held depths he wanted to drown in. "Perhaps I see something the Council doesn't. Something that matters more than statistics." "What's that?" "Hope." His free hand rose and touched her cheek. Her skin was warm silk beneath his palm. She leaned into the touch, eyes closing briefly. When they opened, something had shifted, heat beneath the intensity. "Kira," a mechanical sound cut through the jungle. They were on their feet instantly, weapons ready. Kira's ears swiveled. She pointed northeast, holding up 3 fingers. They moved off the trail into undergrowth. Through gaps in foliage, he caught glimpses of movement. Scarl patrol, insectoid nightmares. 7 feet tall, exoskeletons gleaming like obsidian, 4 arms holding human weapons. Plasma rifles, slug throwers, grenades. Triangular heads dominated by compound eyes. Mandibles clicked in ultrasonic bursts that made his teeth ache. 3 of them, moving in formation. Kira pressed close, lips against his ear. "If they see us, they report. The stronghold will know we're coming." Her breath sent shivers down his spine. He nodded. They waited as the patrol passed within 10 meters. The lead Scarl paused, mandibles working. Its head swiveled, compound eyes scanning their hiding spot. Ryland's finger tightened on the trigger. Beside him, Kira's muscles coiled. The Scarl chittered something. After an eternity, they moved on. Neither moved for a full minute. "Too close," Kira whispered. "Yeah." He realized his hand was on her hip, steadying her or himself or both. She was pressed against his side, warm and solid. "We should move." "Yes." But she didn't pull away immediately. Her hand covered his. "Ryland, after we complete the mission, after we have the cure, I want..." She stopped, searching for words. "What do you want?" She turned in his arms, bringing them face to face in the shattered undergrowth. Time to understand this. Her hand pressed against his chest, feeling his I was always faced because she wrote whatever love was. To know if what I feel is real or just adrenaline and hope. And if it's real, then we face what that means for both our peoples. She rose on her toes, bringing her mouth close to his. But not yet. Not until the mission is complete. Honor demands focus. Honor is a pain in the ass. She smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her face. Yes, it is. She pulled away, leaving him aching with want. They continued through the jungle, but something had changed. Every accidental touch carried weight. Every glance held promise. The space between them felt charged. Night fell and they made camp in a hollow protected by massive roots. No fire. They ate cold rations. Ryland took first watch while Kira curled up in her bedroll. He sat with his back against a tree, rifle across his lap, watching darkness. Bioluminescent insects drifted past like tiny stars. Ryland. Kira's voice. Soft. He looked over. She turned to face him. Can't sleep? Thinking about tomorrow. About what we're walking into. She sat up. I've fought before. Trained my whole life. But always with others. Never just two against impossible odds. He understood the weight of it. Billions depending on them. Come here, he said. She hesitated, then rose and crossed to him. He shifted, making room. She settled against his side, head on his shoulder. They fit together perfectly. We'll make it, he said. Promise me something. Her hand found his in the darkness. If something happens to me. If the Scarl, nothing's gonna happen. Promise me you'll get the cure to your people. That this won't be for nothing. He squeezed her hand. I promise, but you're going to be there when I do. She turned her face into his net, breath warm against his skin. I hope so. Because I think I'm starting to care what happens to you, Ryland Cross. More than is wise. Feelings mutual. They sat like that until his watch ended, her warmth against him, their hands intertwined. When she finally went back to her bedroll, he felt the loss like a physical ache. Tomorrow they'd reach Scarl territory. Tomorrow the real danger began. Tonight, in the darkness, he let himself imagine a future where they both survived. Where that almost kiss became real. Where the space between their peoples closed. He touched his lips, remembering how close she'd been. Soon, after the mission, if they survived. The Scarl stronghold rose from the jungle like a wound in the earth. Organic architecture spiraled upward in chitinous towers that glistened wet in filtered sunlight. Ryland could smell it from half a kilometer away. Acidic, rotten, wrong. There, Kira whispered, pointing to the central structure. The archive is in the core chamber, third level down. He steadied the approach through his scope. Scarl warriors patrolled in pairs. Automated fences tracked movement along the perimeter. Human technology, military grade. Crates bore familiar corporate logos. Government seals, all illegal. How many inside? 40 warriors, plus Queen Sharka and her guard. Kira's jaw tightened. She commands this outpost personally. She pulled out a device that looked like carved bone but hummed with hidden technology. Stealth field generator. 30 minutes of masking, enough to reach the archive if we move fast. And getting out? Once we access the archive, security alerts the entire complex. 5 minutes before complete lockdown. 5 minutes to download data, grab the cure, and fight through 40 warriors. Yes, he laughed without humor. Kira touched his arm. When this is over, we finish what we started. Her fingers curled into his shirt. I want to know what your lips taste like, Ryland Cross. I want to know if your hands feel as good on my skin as I imagine. But first we survive. Heat flooded through him. He pulled her close, forehead pressed to hers. Promise me you won't do anything stupid to save me. Would you make that promise to me? Her eyes held his. Could you stand aside and watch me die? He couldn't. They both knew it. Then we both fight. We both survive. She kissed his forehead quickly. And then we take our time exploring this. She activated the stealth field. Reality rippled around them like heat haze. They moved toward the stronghold. Patrols passed within meters, compound eyes scanning through them. They slipped between guards, through the main entrance, into the hive itself. Inside was worse. Walls pulsed like living tissue. Scar workers scuttled along corridors carrying crates, weapons, medical supplies, data cores. All stolen, all being processed for profit. Kira led them deeper. Down one level, down another. The air grew thicker, hotter. Bioluminescent fungi provided sickly yellow light. Third level. A massive door sealed with mechanical locks and biological sensors. Kira's device clicked them open with wet sounds. The archive sprawled before them. Rows of crystalline storage units pulsed with data. In the center on a raised platform sat a sealed container, Qatara design, beautiful and elegant in this nightmare place. The cure. I'll get the data, Kira said. You get the container. He crossed to the platform. His hands closed around the container, warm to the touch. Inside, vials of luminescent liquid glowed softly. 17 million dead. Thousands more dying every day. Ryland. Kira's voice held an edge. You need to see this. He joined her at the display. File after file, communication logs, transaction records, genetic research. The Scarl hadn't just introduced the plague, they'd designed it. Tailored it to human biology to spread fast and kill slow, maximizing desperation. They've been selling weapons to both sides of your colonial conflicts, Kira said, scrolling through data. Fueling wars, creating instability. All to weaken your governments before releasing the plague. Why? To make humanity dependent. Desperate enough to accept any terms for the cure. She pulled a data crystal from the archive. They're orchestrating the complete subjugation of your species. A klaxon shrieked. Red light flooded the chamber. 3 minutes before lockdown, Kira said. Run. They sprinted for the door as it began closing. Ryland dove through, turning to pull Kira after him. The door sealed with a wet snap that would have crushed bone. Chittering filled the corridors. Many legs, many weapons. They ran. Scarl warriors emerged from side passages. Ryland fired without stopping, plasma bolts burning through chitin. Beside him, Kira's spear blazed to life, a weapon of coherent energy that carved through anything it touched. A warrior lunged from above. Kira spun, spear sweeping in an arc that bisected it. Ichor sprayed the walls. More came. They fought back to back, movement synchronizing without thought. When he reloaded, she covered him. When she pressed forward, he guarded her flank. They reached the first level. The exit was blocked. 20 warriors in formation. Behind them, more were coming. Window, Kira shouted, pointing to a gap 20 feet up. We'll never make it. Trust me. She ran toward the wall, pulling him with her. At the last second, she crouched, and he understood. He stepped onto her interlaced hands, and she launched him upward with impossible strength. He caught the edge and hauled himself up. Below, Kira faced the approaching horde alone. No, he shouted, but she was already moving. Her spear whirled, cutting down the first wave. She danced between plasma bolts, grace and fury combined. A bolt caught her shoulder. She staggered. Ryland jumped. He crashed into 3 warriors from above, rifle firing point blank. Rolled, came up next to her. Her eyes were wide with pain and fear. For him, not herself. I told you not to do anything stupid, she gasped. Feelings mutual. They fought toward the exit together. His ammunition ran dry and he used the rifle as a club. Her spear flickered and died. She reversed it, using it like a staff. The exit was close. 10 meters. 5. Something massive filled the doorway. Peen Shara stood 9 feet tall, exoskeleton plated with armor, each of 4 arms holding weapons, mandibles spread wide. The cure belongs to me, she chittered. Humanity will pay for their survival, or they will die. They'll pay nothing to you, Ryland said. He fired his pistol. Shots sparked harmlessly off her armor. She laughed. Then Kira moved. She hurled her spear like a javelin. It drove through the gap between Qatara's chest plates. The queen screamed, staggering backward. Run! They burst past her into sunlight. A jungle was right there. An explosion threw them forward. Ryland hit the ground hard, the container flying from his hands. He rolled, looked back. The stronghold was collapsing. Qatara's failsafe, destroy everything rather than let them escape. The container lay 5 meters away, back toward the falling structure. Leave it, Kira grabbed his arm. We have to go. He looked at her. At the blood streaming from her shoulder. At the desperation in her eyes. You said humanity had to prove itself. He tore free and ran toward the container. Fire and falling debris surrounded him. A support beam crashed down, missing by inches. He grabbed the container, turned, saw Kira running toward him. Something in the structure groaned. The entire facade was coming down. Ryland! He threw the container to her with everything he had. She caught it, stumbled backward. Then the world fell on him. Pain exploded through his back, his legs. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Through dust and smoke he saw her, saw the container safe in her arms. She was screaming his name. Then everything went dark. Pain was the first thing that returned. Deep, bone-grinding pain that told him he was alive. Ryland's eyes opened to soft blue light. He lay in the same organic bed back in the Qatara settlement. Every breath was agony. Don't. Kira's voice, rough with exhaustion. She sat beside the bed, shoulder wrapped in fresh bandages. Dark circles shadowed those blue eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. How long? He managed. 4 days. Your spine was fractured. 3 ribs broken. Internal bleeding. Her hand found his, fingers threading through his carefully. You shouldn't have survived. And you're too stubborn to listen. Her laugh was half sob. You're healing, slowly. He squeezed her hand weakly. The cure? Safe. The data is with the council. She leaned closer. Terran's warriors witnessed you choose humanity's survival over your own. The council voted unanimously. Humanity receives the cure. Full access to the Scarl data, and we're revealing ourselves to your governments. Offering alliance. First contact. Real first contact. Because I grabbed a box? Because you proved humans are capable of selflessness? Of sacrifice? She brought his hand to her lips, kissing his knuckles. You changed everything. We changed everything. You ran back for me. Of course I did. I told you I was starting to care what happened to you. That was before I watched a building fall on you. Her eyes held his. Before I thought I'd lost you. Terran already left with the cure. He took our fastest ship to your nearest colony. Production has started. She smiled. You did it. You saved billions. The weight of it settled over him. Your governments made contact while you were unconscious. They want to meet you. The human who brokered first contact. They're calling you a hero. I'm a smuggler with a criminal record. You're a man who chose honor over survival. Her hand touched his face, gentle against his cheek. And you're the man I can't stop thinking about, even when I should be focused on diplomatic preparations. His heart rate picked up. The monitoring equipment chirped. What are you saying? I'm saying that somewhere between you tackling me behind that log and watching you nearly die for the cure, I fell for you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I want you, Ryland Cross, in whatever way you'll have me. He pulled her hand to his chest, pressing her palm flat against his racing heartbeat. I want you too. Wanted you since you touched me here the first time, and I saw something in your eyes that made me believe I could be more than what I'd become. She leaned down slowly. Her lips met his, soft at first, questioning. He answered by threading his hand into her hair, pulling her closer despite the pain. The kiss deepened. She tasted like honey and something wild. When she pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," she said. "Worth the wait?" "Almost." She smiled against his mouth. "Ask me again when you can actually move." Over the next week, she barely left his side. The healers applied treatments that made his bones melt faster than should be possible. Kira brought him food, read him reports, told him stories, and when the healers weren't watching, she kissed him. Slow, deep kisses that promised more. Her hands learned the map of his scars. His hands learned the texture of her skin, the sensitive spots behind her ears that made her breath catch. "When I can walk," he said one evening, his hand trailing down her spine, "I'm going to show you exactly what I've been imagining." "Tell me." Her voice was rough, pupils dilated. "I'm going to take my time, learn every sound you make, find out if you're as responsive everywhere as you are here." His thumb brushed the base of her ear and she shuddered. "I'm going to taste every inch of you until you're begging." Ryland, his name was half gasp, half plea. A throat cleared behind them. Matriarch Elaine stood in the doorway, eyebrow raised. "The human delegates have arrived. They wish to meet the hero of humanity. Should I tell them he's currently seducing my daughter?" Kira pulled back, flushing to the tips of her ears. "Give me 10 minutes to make myself presentable, matriarch. You have 5. But her eyes held warmth. "Don't make me regret approving this match, Cross." She left. Kira stared at him. "She approves?" "Apparently nearly dying earned me some goodwill." He sat up carefully. His body protested but obeyed. "Help me up?" She supported him as he stood. Together they walked to the wardrobe where clean clothes waited. "I'll need to go back eventually," he said, as she helped him dress. "To testify about the Scarl? To help with alliance negotiations?" "I know." Her hands smoothed the shirt across his shoulders. "I'm coming with you, as Qatara ambassador to humanity." He turned to face her. "That's going to be complicated. You and me, while you're representing your people." "I don't care about complicated." She stepped close, arms sliding around his waist. "I care about you. About us. Kira," she kissed him quiet. "We faced an impossible mission and survived. We changed the fate of 2 species. I think we can handle some diplomatic complications." The human delegates waited in the council chamber. They stood when he entered, Kira at his side, their eyes widened seeing them together. "Mr. Cross," the lead delegate said, "on behalf of humanity, we owe you a debt we can never repay." "You don't owe me anything. I did what needed doing. Nevertheless, full pardons for all prior offenses, citizenship restoration, and an offer to serve as special liaison to the Qatara." Ryland looked at Kira. She squeezed his hand. "I'm willing. On one condition. Name it." "The Qatara provide oversight on cure distribution. No corporation profits. No government hoards it. Every human who needs it gets it. Free." The delegates exchanged glances. Finally, the leader nodded. "Agreed. The Qatara have already made that a condition of the alliance." When the delegates finally left, Matriarch Elaine approached. "You did well, both of you. The council is satisfied that humanity deserves this second chance." She looked at Kira. "And I am satisfied that you chose wisely, Dunner." "Thank you, Mother." The matriarch left them alone on the platform overlooking the settlement. Night had fallen, and bioluminescent vines painted everything in blue and silver. In the distance, his ship waited, repaired, upgraded with Qatara technology. "Ready to see the galaxy?" Kira asked. "With you?" "Yes." She turned in his arms, rising on her toes to kiss him. This kiss was different, not tentative or promising, but claiming. "My quarters are closer than yours," she murmured against his lips. "Are you sure? I'll be gentle." Her hand slid down his chest. "At first," Heat flooded through him. He captured her mouth again, walking her backward toward her quarters. They stumbled through the door and it sealed behind them. She pulled back just long enough to strip off her shirt. His hands found bare skin, and she gasped. He traced the curve of her waist, learning her body the way he'd promised. Ryland. His name was breathless, needy. I'm here. He kissed down her neck, finding that sensitive spot behind her ear. I'm not going anywhere. She pulled him toward the bed and they fell together. He kept his promise, taking his time, learning every sound she made. Her hands were equally curious, equally reverent. When they finally came together, it was perfect. She moved above him, red hair falling around them like a curtain, blue eyes holding his. The tension built between them until she shattered around him, gasping his name. After they lay tangled together, her head on his chest. What happens now? She asked. Now we help our peoples learn to trust each other. We testify against the Scarl. We build something new. He kissed her forehead. Together, she agreed. Outside, his ship waited. Tomorrow, they'd leave for human space, beginning the work of alliance and healing. But tonight they had each other. Two souls who'd found something worth fighting for. He'd protected a stranger in the jungle, and she'd returned with an unexpected gift. Not just the cure, but hope. For humanity. For themselves. For a future neither could have imagined, Ryland held her close and let himself believe in that future, in them.